The obsession today with being for or against mainstream media is, I think, rather absurd. We need to listen to all sources of information. And again, the obsession with fact is absurd. Is this a fact? Is this the truth? No. As Marcus Aurelius, a wonderful philosopher and emperor, and sort of failed emperor in so many ways, uh, Marcus Aurelius Marcus Aurelius said, "Everything is an opinion, not a fact." And I think that's a good starting point. Everything is an opinion, not a fact. And the Russell Brand story, I'm sure we're going to get more and more. I flicked through some of the dispatches thing this evening, and I couldn't see very much that improved on what we'd learnt from the Times article at 3 o'clock. I'm sure there will be more. I'm sure tomorrow's newspapers are going to be filled with detail, and there are some interesting points being made in the comments section. If these are such egregious crimes, why did the people involved not go to the police? Well, there are many reasons why people don't go to the police. And if we had a significantly more reliable police force, perhaps the assumption would be that everybody would go to the police if there was something of a problem. I'm afraid we are in a position where demonstrably the police force is not reliable. And a trial by media, I'm afraid we've already seen that happening, and we've already seen the success of that. Now, Russell Brand says at the end of his speech yesterday that maybe something else is going on. Maybe there is something else going on. There are certainly agenda, and there are forces at work, forces of control at work, and Russell Brand, I'm sure, is a very powerful individual because of the number of fans that he has, not only in this country but internationally. So we have to ask, what next? Is this an attempt to scupper his brand? Is this an attempt to propel him into the courts? Is this an attempt to give four women some form of closure and some form of voice? Well, that may also be the case. There are so many interpretations of this story. As for the numerous anonymous characters, I'm not so sure where we're going to go with that one. And there is a bit of me which feels that Russell Brand is being targeted rather like Andrew Tate and his brother, rather like Elon Musk, because people don't like him. And let me put my cards on the table. I think I've listened to Russell Brand probably once when he was by chance on a TV show. I've looked at some of the things that he's said, and I think he sounds quite intelligent and quite interesting. This evening, I looked at a few things that he'd said, and he struck me as thoughtful. But he's not somebody that I particularly follow in any way, and he's somebody I've slightly steered clear of. But I find this this targeting of celebrities very worrying. I found it worrying with the Schofield story. I found it worrying with the Hugh Edwards story and with the Dan Wootton story. In the case of those three, I very much enjoyed seeing Philip Schofield in Dr. Dolittle. I loathed him in Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, but then I loathed that show. So it wasn't his fault, it was Andrew Lloyd Webber's fault. And I saw it twice. As for Dan Wootton, I don't care for him at all. But does that mean he's guilty of something? No. And more than that, having had the charges dangled in front of them by Byline Times, and some of those charges seem to suggest criminal behaviour, one wonders why the police have not acted. One wonders why there hasn't been further activity and further investigation. Are we to conclude, therefore, that there's nothing there? Are we to conclude that Dan Wootton, on the other hand, is just so irrelevant nobody cares? I don't think Dan Wootton would like that conclusion, but I think that's probably much closer to the mark. As for Hugh Edwards, whether he has a mental problem or not, the story just comes across as dirty and distasteful, and you just think, wash your mouth out, Hugh Edwards, because this isn't the same mouth that should be reporting the death of the Queen. And I don't think, again, I don't think there's anything to call for police activity. There wasn't any police activity. But it's not the sort of thing you want to bring into your sitting room, is it? And I think, in the end, that's the same conclusion that I would draw with Russell Brand. But I don't want to bring him into my sitting room. I've already made that decision. He's not somebody I want in my life. Hugh Edwards is somebody I've decided I don't want in my life. Philip Schofield I can do without him. I don't think there's going to be a revival of Dr. Dolittle anyway. What a shame. As for Dan Wootton, he's another person I don't want in my life. So all these stories are doing is confirming my own particular bias. Now, and we come back to opinion and fact. I don't deal in fact. If you want the facts, go to the newspapers, go to the what we loosely call mainstream media. Go to these people who repeat the news. I don't repeat the news. I pick up a news story that I think I have an opinion about. And that's what I offer. I don't offer the facts. I offer my own personal opinion. And it's my opinion. And it's not necessarily predicated on truth. It's predicated on observation. And if I put forward an opinion today, I may change my mind tomorrow, and I think I'm perfectly entitled to do that. That's not hypocrisy. That's not consistency. That's a different opinion. And it's based on my assessment of what facts I can get my hands on. But I recognise those facts are elusive, and most of the time what is defined as fact is little more than somebody else's opinion. So I'm upfront about it. This is an opinion piece, not a news broadcast. And I think I'm also upfront that when it comes to allegations like the ones connected to Russell Brand, I called him Russell Bland, which may be appropriate too. Russell Brand. Do you know the Beatrix Potter book, Pigling Bland? It seems appropriate. Pigling Bland and his brother go off to market, which always struck me even as a child to be rather a frightening idea that they would go off with such gleeful happiness to market to sell themselves, to become bacon. And Russell Brand, I think the most important thing is the victims receive support. And if they're not victims of Russell Brand, they're victims of something else. But they're not happy people. And we should be reaching out to them to offer them as much support as possible. And at the same time, I think Russell Brand has not been charged with anything. We should be offering support to him too. The world can do with a little bit of niceness, a little bit of support. You know, we don't have We don't have a limit on the amount of support we can offer people. And I was very shocked that somebody should say that I was a protector. I am a protector. I would like to protect the whole world if I could. And I can't. But I can protect those people that I read about, and I can protect those people that I know if I can. And I think Russell Brand cannot be in a good place at the moment. So I am sorry. But the people who are alleging that he assaulted them in whatever way are equally not in a good place, and I think our heart automatically goes out to them. We must support the victim. We must change the way justice is done in this country and lead the way for that sort of victim-led justice across the world if we possibly can.